teams, it may be when we're working in a group or team, it might be at times be able to take a step back and actually look what's going on. It might be at the initial stages when we're trying to, through that norming, storming stages. So maybe who showed themselves to be a leader? Did all members communicate equally? And was there a common vision within that? So it's having the ability to step out and look back at what you're doing. So all roles within a team have significance. It's important to maybe have a spread of the different roles. And then even spread of roles in a group can cause problems in addressing a task. So if you've got everyone who is all, they're all planters, they're all good at developing ideas, but then you haven't got people who can actually put them into action, then obviously that's when that team's going to struggle. So it's important to understand about what key members and what strengths people have. It may mean that you have more than one role within a team. So if you know that you're quite good at ideas, but also quite good at doing, if you've got lots of people that are good at giving ideas, you might take a step back and try doing more than doing. So you may not just have one role in the team. You need to be focused on the secondary or third functions within that team to help complement and get your group working together. So it's through this method that we ensure there's an effective team that is constructed. So once we've set up a group or team, we need to make sure we consider the following. So we need to be aware of other people's feelings, so having a bit of emotional intelligence. Possibly make some ground rules and set some boundaries around what that team and group are going to be doing. So that kind of common goal, purpose, and our kind of set targets and how we're going to work with each other. We're going to plan. So having a clear plan is going to prevent those difficulties. So setting out clear targets and roles and responsibilities is going to stop that kind of conflict and issues and difficulties. We need to create an effective group or working environment. So doing those key things are going to ensure that. We need to set and create, key agendas that we need to be working on. Important part, which often people forget, is checking progress. So checking within each member of the team where they're getting on or how they're getting on with things, and kind of take responsibility for that. And it's obviously really important to allocate some tasks and group roles, maybe based on people's strengths, and maybe teaming up people with different kind of strengths and weaknesses, and for them to work together in smaller groups, in larger groups. So say, for example, you've got a group of 8 of you working on a project, or 6. You might go off and work in pairs on little parts of it. You may go and send people off individually. So it's up to you how you manage your group or team. So there's kind of been lots of research around teamwork and group work. So what we're looking at is, groups at the start point and working as a group to ultimately become a high performance team. So what we see in sort of elite sport are those high performance teams. And I'm going to talk through the key elements where we end up from starting as a group to becoming a high performing team. So people working as a group, individuals work jointly, but not working together for a common goal. A pseudo team, so individuals are aware of their goals, but not truly focused on trying to achieve them. A potential team, individuals are aware of the goals, but lacking the clarity of how they're going to achieve them, or maybe not taking on joint responsibility for them. A real team, so individuals who know their team and goals, how to get there, and have joint commitment to that. And then finally, you've got those high performance teams. Okay, so these individuals taking a joint ownership and responsibility for the goals, have a clear plan, have high expectations, and are committed to each other's personal success, but also that group success. So when we're working as groups, we're ultimately aiming to become that high performing team to get the best that we can from developing that group team scenario. So creating that real team in the hope to become a high performing team, members of the team need to be doing the following, or be aware of the following, which are absolutely clear of the team's goals. You need to allocate roles, take responsibility jointly for those kind of key goals, plan how you're going to achieve them, allocate key tasks to all members, have good time managers, value everybody who's involved in the team, identify any hidden or deal with any issues or conflict or hidden agendas. And then also, key important point is trust one another to be dependable, honest, fair, and also be objective in the dealings with each other. There's going to be times where you don't get on with people, but it's around managing that scenario. So when you're setting up groups and teams, it's important to maybe start and asking kind of forming stage, ask yourself some questions. It might be, how often are we going to meet? Can we agree a schedule? How are we going to stay in touch? So, if it's a on-campus scenario group, you might arrange meetings. Wherever you're working via distance learning, you might do stuff by Skype, email, online portals, discussion board, text, internet, whatever it is. What are the things we need to do to submit the group assignment or task on time? How much work or time is each of us prepared to get things done? Do we need any help from outside the group? Who do we ask this from, and where do we get it from? Are there any particular skills, resources, ideas in the group that could really help us to achieve our goals? And then looking, maybe someone should be selected as that leader, coordinator of the group. And how do we decide who that person is going to be? So hopefully by asking these questions at the start of setting up your groups, it should alleviate some of the issues and make sure everyone's clear on that kind of process before we start. So I've looked at setting up teams and group work and the dynamics of them. Another kind of key element to your study skills is around study groups. And we're going to kind of talk through some of these key points linked to that. So basically, university generally focuses on individual achievement, awarding of that degree. But the world of work requires people to work in partnership and develop those key skills of teamwork and group work. So therefore, it's really important to be developing these people or interpersonal skills as they add value to today's workplace. So it's really important we try and work on those throughout your degree programme. It's more recognised that some people learn better through group work and discussion. In order to succeed, some students need to have the support of others. Using a study group is a really good way of developing people's interpersonal skills. So when you're studying with others, it might be in a seminar scenario, it might be set a group project, it might be doing something as a group or bouncing ideas off each other for placement work, discussion groups, there may be a lab scenario, or you might just set up a student support group, a knit of a few of you who are working together on a particular assignment and helping each other along with that process, obviously avoiding plagiarism and copying off each other. Supporting working, so these are the things you're going to be looking to do. It's maybe you need encouragement, maybe some criticism and some advice on how to kind of improve your work, but also offering constructive criticism, so you may be able to give advice to other people. It's about collaborating and cooperating with each other in these study groups. There are some advantages and disadvantages of working in groups or creating up study groups. What I'd like to do now, have a little think in your head, maybe what you think some of these advantages and disadvantages are. So what did you manage to come up with? It could be that, you're in a group and you're contributing more than others. The study group isn't working effectively. You haven't got a clear purpose or goal. So it's around making sure, if you are setting up that study group, there is a purpose to it and you are all working to kind of help each other. Now consider how to actually form a study group. Who should you invite? When should you meet? Where should you meet? What is the best way of communicating effectively? And how can you set your time so you're not just kind of meeting for no purpose or a real goal? So for an on-campus student, this is quite simple. You could meet with on campus in the library, meeting rooms, whatever it is, and to kind of go through and help each other with work. For a distance learning student, this can be a little bit more difficult. So for those of you who are working out in scenarios where you have little groups, it might be that you've set up a little study group and worked with each other to help each other out. Those of you who are working completely independently, there are still mechanisms to allow you to communicate and help each other and work in little groups. So it might be that you're an independent student, but you have people who aren't too far away from you in terms of where they live, that you could meet on a, monthly, weekly, when an assignment's being worked on, whatever scenario, when a project's being done, meeting to discuss and bounce ideas face to face. When you're actually completely working remotely away from anybody and you can't meet face to face, then there's lots of online platforms where you can work as groups and communicate with each other. You can use GoToMeetings, Skype sessions, the Blackboard Collaborate tool, discussion boards, email. So there's lots of scenarios for an online distance learning student where you can still actively work in groups, which obviously is going to help you if you thrive in that environment. Okay, so today's session we've managed to look at some group work, teamwork, setting up study groups. And I've got a little task for you around teamwork and building teams and your kind of personality and traits within a team. So within the folder on Blackboard, you will find Belbin's Team Role Self-Perception Questionnaire. What I'd like you to do is complete the questionnaire to identify the role you play when working in a team.